Imagine two people living in the same city. Person A earns $94,000 a year. They live in a nice two-bedroom apartment and drive a brand new leased car. Their closet is full of clothes that still have the price tags on them. Yet every Sunday night, their chest gets tight when they check their bank account. If they lost their job tomorrow, they would be in a financial crisis within 6 weeks. Then there is person B. They earn $51,000, nearly half as much as person A. They pay the same rent and have the same commute. Their apartment is simple and feels spacious because it isn't filled with clutter. When they check their bank app, they are as calm as someone checking the weather. They have 14 months of expenses saved and invest 22% of every paycheck. The gap between these two people has nothing to do with how much they earn. Person B didn't inherit a fortune or start a famous business. They simply learned a secret that person A was never taught. This secret comes from Japan. Even though Japan has one of the largest economies in the world, the average person there earns less than the average American. However, Japanese families save money at 5 times the rate of Americans and carry almost no credit card debt. They live by a concept called shizukana tomi, which means quiet wealth. These habits weren't created by a modern app. They are over 100 years old. You don't need to cancel your Netflix or stop buying coffee to reach this level of peace. This isn't about working harder or suffering through a budget that makes you unhappy. Instead, it is about a different way of looking at your life, one built on being aware of what you have and knowing when you have enough. I am going to show you 10 Japanese habits that build lasting, quiet wealth. The best part is that not one of them requires you to earn a single dollar more than you do right now. Most people look at their money like a photograph. They check their bank account and see a single number, thinking that tells the whole story. If the number is high, they feel rich. If it is low, they feel poor. But Japanese financial philosophy looks at money differently. They see it as a flow, like a river moving through your hands. It is not about what you have at one specific moment. It is about where the money is going and how fast it is leaving. Think of it this way. A photograph of a lake might look beautiful, even if the water is actually leaking out from the bottom. On the other hand, a small stream might look thin, but it is constantly moving forward and building something larger. If your money flow is broken, even a high salary won't save you. Let's look back at our two examples. Person A earns $94,000, but spends $93,200 every year. Their flow is only $800. That is barely a trickle of water. Person B earns $51,000, but keeps $11,220 moving toward their future. Even though person B earns much less, their financial flow is 14 times stronger. Once you stop worrying about the snapshot of your bank account and start fixing the flow of your money, everything changes. You realize that wealth is not an income problem. It is a flow problem. When you master the movement of your money, you can finally stop chasing a higher salary to solve your stress. The first habit is called kakeibo, which means household account book. It was created in 1904 by Hani Motoko, who was Japan's first female journalist. While most people today try to track their money using a fancy app on their phone, kakeibo is much simpler. It uses only a notebook and a pen. You divide everything you spend into 4 categories: needs, wants, culture, and unexpected costs. The secret is that you must write every single purchase down by hand every night. When you tap a card or use your phone to pay, your brain doesn't really feel like you are spending money. It feels automatic. But when you have to physically write down that you spent $5 on a snack, it forces you to think. The question stops being, can I afford this? And becomes, which category do I have to write this under tonight? This small bit of effort makes you stop and think before you buy anything. The results are powerful. People who use this method often see their extra spending drop by 20% to 35% in the very first month. For someone earning $55,000, cutting unnecessary spending by just 22% can save about $1,800 in only 30 days. All of that comes from using a $3 notebook. In 2026, nearly half of all Americans have no budget at all. Those who do use apps that do all the work for them, which means they never actually learn from their choices. Kakeibo gives that thinking back to you. It turns your spending from an accident into a conscious choice. The second habit is called mottainai.
This word describes the uncomfortable feeling you get when something useful is thrown away. It is not just a rule about being tidy, it is a feeling of respect for the things you own.
To practice this, try a simple exercise. For 1 week, take a photo of everything you throw in the trash. Look at the leftover food, the packaging you paid for, and the items you are replacing, even though they still work. This makes your waste visible, so you can no longer ignore it. The numbers show why this matters. Most American families waste about 30% of the food they buy. That is like taking $2,100 every year and tossing it straight into the garbage can. On top of that, the average person throws away 82 pounds of clothing every year. Even our electronics cause a drain on our wealth. When people replace their phones every 2 years instead of waiting until the device actually breaks, it can cost them up to $50,000 over their lifetime. Take the example of Jerome, a manager living in Atlanta. He decided to track his waste for 1 week. He was shocked to find he was throwing away $43 worth of groceries every single week. That adds up to over $2,200 a year. To fix his flow, he started buying smaller amounts of food more often and freezing his leftovers immediately. In just 2 months, his grocery bill dropped by 28%. Jerome didn't change what he ate or go on a diet. He simply changed how much he wasted, turning that lost money back into quiet wealth. The third habit is called ma. In Japan, this word refers to the meaningful space between things, the pause that gives everything else its shape. When it comes to your money, ma is the deliberate gap between wanting something and actually buying it. It is not about using intense willpower to say no. Instead, it is about building a structure that forces you to slow down. Most people fail with money because they rely on willpower. The problem is that willpower is like a battery. It runs out as the day goes on. By 11 p.m., your self-control is at its lowest, which is exactly when most people make mistakes with online shopping. If you buy something with 1 click late at night, that is a failure of your system, not your character. You do not need more self-control, you need more friction. You can create this space by making 3 simple changes. First, delete your saved credit card numbers from every website. Second, delete shopping apps from your phone so you have to use a computer to buy anything. Finally, make a rule to wait 48 hours before buying anything non-essential that costs more than $30. While you wait, unsubscribe from all store emails that send you deals. The facts show that most desires do not survive 2 days of doing nothing. Simply waiting 24 to 48 hours can eliminate 70% of impulse purchases. By creating this space, you give your brain time to realize that you don't actually need the item. You aren't suffering, you are just giving your quiet wealth room to grow. The fourth habit is called kazoku kaigi, which means family meeting. In many Japanese homes, families sit down once a month to look at their money together. This isn't just a time to pay bills, it is a ritual to build awareness. Every expense is read out loud and discussed. Simply saying, "We spent $340 on food delivery this month," changes how you feel about that money. When you hear the number spoken out loud, you often find that you naturally spend less the next month without even trying. If you are managing your money alone, you can still do this. Once a month, open your accounts and write down 3 specific numbers: the total amount you spent, the total amount you saved, and 1 category that surprised you. That last part is the most important. The surprise category is usually where your money is disappearing. Research from 2025 shows that most people underestimate their monthly subscription costs by $133 and their impulse spending by nearly $300. The number you don't know is the number that is stealing from you. The psychology behind this is simple. When humans track a behavior, they start to change it automatically. You don't even need to set a strict goal or make a new rule. Just the act of looking at the data acts as an intervention. This is why kazoku kaigi has worked for generations in Japan. You don't need a financial advisor or a motivational video to get ahead. You just need to count your money and let the awareness do the work for you. The 5th habit is called wabi-sabi. This is a Japanese way of seeing the world that finds beauty in things that are imperfect or old. It might be a wooden table with scratches, a cracked bowl fixed with gold, or a sweater you have owned for 15 years because it still fits and you still love it.
In this mindset, a scratch on your phone is not a reason to buy a new one. Instead, it is proof that you have used the item well. In the United States, our culture often works by making us feel unhappy with what we have. The moment something looks a little bit old or out of style, we feel like we must replace it.
On average, Americans spend about $9,500 every year on clothes, home furniture, and gadgets. Most of this spending happens because we are bored with how things look, not because the items actually stopped working. If you use wabi-sabi to keep things longer and repair them instead of tossing them, you could save over $2,300 a year. If you invested that money for 25 years, it could grow into more than $180,000. You can start this habit with one simple practice. Before you replace anything, ask yourself, has this item failed to do its job, or has it just failed to look brand new? Being bored is not a failure. A little bit of wear and tear is not a failure. Even the fact that a newer version exists does not mean your current one is broken. Unless it physically cannot do what it was made to do, it is still useful. Everything else is just a clever advertisement trying to get you to save a problem you don't actually have. The sixth habit is called chokin. While the word simply means savings, it represents a very specific order of operations. Earn your money, save a part of it immediately, and then spend whatever is left. Most people do the opposite. They earn their money, spend it throughout the month, and hope there is something left over to save. The problem is that spending naturally expands to fill whatever money you have available. Chokin stops this by moving the money away before you have a chance to spend it. To see how much this matters, let's look at Nadia, who earns $4,600 a month after taxes. In the first path, Nadia spends first. At the end of the month, she usually only has about $138 left to save. In the second path, Nadia uses chokin. The morning she gets paid, $920 is automatically moved into her savings and investment accounts before she even sees it. She learns to live on the remaining $3,680. It only takes about 6 weeks for her brain to adjust because the option to spend that extra money simply isn't there anymore. After 20 years, the difference is staggering. If Nadia saves what is left over, she might end up with $81,000. But by saving first, she could end up with $542,000. It is the same salary and the same life, but a completely different future. You can start this habit today. Set up one automatic transfer from your bank account to your savings. Even if it is only $50, the amount is not as important as the order. Save first, spend second. Changing the sequence of your money is the fastest way to change the trajectory of your life. The seventh habit is called jiyuu, which means freedom. In Japanese financial thinking, wealth is not measured by how many things you own. Instead, it is measured by the choices you are free to make. Can you leave a job that makes you miserable? Can you take 3 months off to care for a sick parent? Can you move to a new city for someone you love? These are not just luxuries. They are the entire point of having money. This kind of freedom is only available to people who have built a margin, a gap between what they earn and what they spent. Compare two people. One person earns $190,000, but spends $187,000. They have zero freedom. They are chained to their paycheck and cannot risk saying no to anything. Their possessions have more freedom than they do. Another person earns $72,000, but only spends $48,000. They have extraordinary freedom. They can choose what they want to do based on what they like, not what they need. Every time you buy something, you are making a trade. You are giving away a piece of your future freedom for a possession today. Most people stop buying useless things when they ask, is this item worth what it costs me in freedom? These habits do not work alone. They create a cycle. Kakeibo makes you aware of your money. That awareness shows you where you are being wasteful. Mottainai makes that waste feel wrong, and Ma gives you the pause you need to stop buying new things. Wabi-sabi helps you stop wanting to replace everything you own, and chokin moves your extra money into your future. Finally, jiyuu makes that future feel real and worth protecting. This is not just a list of tips, it is a system. Remember person B from the beginning? They earned $51,000 and have 14 months of savings. They didn't get lucky and they didn't find a better job. They just found a better philosophy. Their apartment feels large because everything in it was kept for a reason. Their bank account is calm because they save before they spend.
Their money flows smoothly instead of draining away. They built quiet wealth, slowly and deliberately, like a garden. The difference between a life of stress and a life of wealth was never about income. It was about intention, and intention is something you already have.